Alright guys, welcome back to the WideFox build. The question of the day, how many times have you seen show cars or quality built cars that have panels that don't fit? Raise your hand. So today, you can obviously see behind WideFox now has a hood on it. I am today going to fit this hood to fit with all the other pieces, and I'm going to take you along for the ride. So now, one of the things that you'll notice on most cars is that your eyes can tell difference in sizes. Not necessarily, unless it's calibrated, what size it is, but you can visibly look at something that should be straight, and you can tell if it's gapped this way, gapped that way, gapped this way. You can see the difference. So before you start fitting any panels, you need to put them in what you think are going to be their installed shape, and then take some measurements. So you know I've got the taper gauge and all that I've been using so far. So what I've done is I've put up basically a hood, and I've compared the 80, which is WideFox, to an 86 hatch I have sitting outside. So you can see this is marking the hood. So P is passenger side, D is driver, and F is front. So that's just my legend of where it is. Now, at 3 spots on each side, 2 on the back, and 3 across the front, I have taken measurements comparing the 86, which is what Ford standard was, and what the WideFox is now. So, for reference, the back of this is the cowl up here. So the hood to the cowl on the 86 is 3.5 millimeters. Along the side, it's roughly 3.2 to 4, somewhere in there. So let's call it 3.5 as a good measurement. Along the driver, roughly 3.5. And along the front, because there's nothing really to gap to other than physically up and down, it's roughly about 6 millimeters. Now, the 86 is in pretty good shape. The 80, WideFox, ooh, it's not very good shape. So to start with, I just put a hood on and just made sure it at least would close. To start with, what I'm going to start with on the WideFox, on the passenger side where the 86 is 3.5, WideFox is 6.5. Where it's 3.5 on the driver's side, it's 4.7. So you can definitely see there's a difference where this gap is smaller or larger than this. Along the sides, it's roughly 7 to 9 millimeters on the passenger side, where the 86 is 3.5. Drivers is roughly 2 to 2.5. So you can tell the hood is shifted to the driver's side. And I'll show you what I mean. Now along the front, where the 86 is roughly 6 to 6.2 on gap between the hood and the fascia itself, WideFox is 14.5 to 15. Big difference. So if I stand back and show you what this hood looks like, while it is roughly the same across the front, you can definitely see there's a large gap. 2 millimeters, honestly, is very hard to see, but it's there. You can definitely see the gap at the back. And then across the passenger side, you can definitely see a gap. It's roughly consistent, but you can definitely see a difference where the hood is shifted physically. All right, so now that you know kind of where the starting point is, what we're going to do is show you how everything is mounted. So the hood itself has 2 rear mounts, which is going to be the hinges. Now the hinges have a bolt that goes through the hinge into basically a capturing nut. Now the nut itself is going to fit onto this, so you can see these are slotted widthwise crosscar. Not so much movement front to back. The front to back is actually built into the hinge itself. Now on the front of the car, the thing that holds everything down is going to be your hood latch. Now I've taken one off WideFox because I don't have a cable connected, so if I latch this hood, I can't get it back open very easily. So I just took the latch off, but that's okay because it has a vertical adjustment up and down where the hood latches in to where it's not supposed to be like too hard, right? It should just latch without having to slam the thing down. Now on the rear edges of the hood, the hinge is what controls everything. It controls crosscar, front to back, and also vertical. On the front, the hood latch will snap down, so it pulls it down, but these adjusters on the outside are what controls basically the hood vertical to the edge of the fender and the fascia. So while the latch will pull it down, these are what you're going to have to adjust to make sure the hood fits the fender itself. Now, before you go adjust everything or start trying to adjust, you need to pick what direction you're going to adjust. Either adjust for crosscar first, then fore aft, then vertically, or some combination of that. Don't try to fix all directions at once. It becomes really complicated and it starts to get frustrating because when you adjust one, it's going to affect everything else. So for me, what I'm going to start with is I'm going to adjust crosscar. So I know I need to shift the hood physically to the passenger side. Now, based on my measurements on WideFox, if I showed you the difference, what I'm going to look for is roughly a gap between 4.5 and 5 millimeters average along the full length. And I want them to be roughly consistent. So where it was 2 on one side and 7 on the other, what I'm shooting for is 5. So open up 2 towards 5, and that will take 7 and close that down towards 5. Now the hood hinges themselves, once you lock them down to the firewall, you can adjust the hood based on the cross piece inside built into the hood where it secures. The hinges themselves want to naturally rest at the center. What you can do is use obviously one hooder together, loosen up one side, both bolts, slide it over in the hinge, tighten them down, and let the hood relax. You can then go over to the other side of the hood, loosen those bolts up, slide it over, and then tighten it down and set the hood down. So this is how I mean. So in order to adjust this, what I'm going to do is take these 2 bolts out that connect the hood hinge to the hood. I'm just going to loosen them up, and then I'm going to hold the hood hinge and push it over. And I'm going to hold it there and tighten down with just your other hand. Once I do one side, I can then go over and do the other side. I can set the hood down and see, did I adjust it right or wrong? Okay, so first attempt at shifting it over, almost got it dead on. So right now at the back where the hood matches the fender, it's roughly about 6 millimeters, which is pretty good. That's about 1/4 inch. Not bad. One thing I do note that where the fender goes to the front of the hood, right up there where the fascia connects or the bumper connects, because the the fore aft is different from front to back on both sides. Basically it's shifted, so it's kind of parallel this way, but one side is further forward, so it's turning the hood this way. So I need now to leave that alone, and now I'm going to focus on fore aft. So if I showed you before, the gap was 6.5 on the passenger side, and it was 4.7 on there. Should be roughly 3.5. So I need to shift the hood back, and then I need to pull, obviously, the passenger more than the driver to kind of shift it back this way. So now with the crosscar fixed to where it's even, balanced both sides, the fore aft is now balanced both sides. I now need to fix the height. For my hood itself, it fit pretty well on the passenger, but the driver's side was way low. Now the hinges themselves to where they bolt on the firewall, there's 2 bolts there. You can try to adjust those. Basically take them loose, lift them, tighten them down, and see how close you're going to get. You might not get everything out of it that you need. What you can do there from that point is to take some fender washers, something simple like this, that is going to fit between the hood channel where the hinge bolts to, and then obviously the center hole fits where the 7/16 or whatever the bolt is. What you can do to start with is basically take these and you're going to stack them on the hood, literally on the hood, until they are flush with the fender. So if I took those and I fit, let's say I'd take 3 of them and they fit, and then I can run my hand straight across, you know that you need to add 3 washers between the hinge and the hood to basically pick the hood up to where it now goes across the fender itself. For me, if you obviously see this is overstacked now, I've already done that. So the back bolt itself took 3 bolts, the front bolt itself took 2. Now it's just because the hood was already kind of balanced, not, I guess, equally balanced. But in order to put those in, do one bolt at a time. So I did the first bolt, I took it out, I then used a screwdriver just to kind of pull the hood hinge down away from the hood, slid the 2 washers in, put the bolt back. Took the back one out, slid the 3 washers in, put the bolt back, and actually changed it to a little bit longer one just because I needed the extra threads, the extra extension to be able to get up in there. What that did now is that my hood pretty darn close to that fender, straight across. There you can see just the balance between the 2 and the 3, just putting on top of the hood hinge and the hood itself pushing the hood vertically up. All right, so at this point, the hood has been balanced cross car, left to right, it's even. It's also now balanced on fore aft, both sides, they're even. And now I've balanced the rear vertically against the fenders. The last piece of this is you need to balance the front. Now, of course, you want the edges of your hood to match the fenders and this here to latch. This has adjustments up and down. So what I would say is leave this for last, and then if you lifted up your hood, you adjust these bumpers, either obviously turning them like righty-tighty basically goes down, lefty-loosey goes up. So if you set your hood down, you can then use your fingers or whatever you want across there. I like my fingers personally because it gives me the textile or the tactile feeling, but use your fingers left to right and feel. How does it fit against the fascia? Does it fit about the right way? You can always measure under here, left to right, but you can also feel it if you don't have anything to measure by. Last piece, once these fit, is to then adjust your hood latch. Now, if you wanted to, you could take your latch loose, push it all the way down so that it won't latch, so it won't lock this down and affect these. And then you can basically lift it up till it latches, and then you can just tighten it down. So you can try it, snap it in, see if you can get it tightened. If you can't, no big deal. Lift it up, tighten it down, shut the hood. How does it fit? You shouldn't have to slam it, basically forcing down, because it doesn't need to be that way. But at the same time, it shouldn't lock in to where you've got a bunch of movement. It should snap, but then also have pressure pulling down on these to where the hood doesn't, as speed go. You don't want it to vibrate. There's rubber dampers all the way around, so you want it to sit flat on those and connected. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So I'll give you the final look at my hood now that it's balanced, left to right, front to back, and vertically. It's pretty darn nice. So that's the hood on the WideFox. It's done, balanced, and now if I ever have to take it off, what I can do is basically just take a Sharpie, put some marks literally on the hood hinges, being like a dead center on each side, and then maybe a mark on left or right so that I know if I take it apart, I basically just have to line up the marks and put it back. Very simple, and then everything else, you don't have to worry about it. Don't adjust your bumpers, don't adjust your hood hinge or your hood latch, because it doesn't need adjustments. So if that doesn't make sense to anybody of how to balance a hood left to right, up to down, let me know. You guys got this, though. It's pretty simple now that I've explained it, isn't it? You're like, oh, I should have done that a long time ago. So that's it from Basin Motorsports. We'll see you next time.